How many trees can you fit in your garden? Is your garden even big enough for any trees at all? If so, what type of trees can you put in, and are there ways of managing trees to fit in your space? Well, in this video, I will give you all the tips and tricks on how you can get not just one, but many trees in a small space. And to illustrate this, I'm going to use my small garden. So, spoiler alert, you can, whatever size your garden, have room to plant a tree. Even if it's just a little balcony, you could probably have a tree in a pot. So let's take a look, and hopefully you'll have some ideas that you can use in your garden. So this is my front garden. It's quite modest. It's the planted area, which is what you're seeing now, is only about 10 meters by 7. So let's take a look at some of the trees that we've got in this garden and see if there's any plants that you could try in your garden too. This one here, we can't really count it as a tree, but it's a great substitute for a tree. It's called a Musa Basjoo. And it's probably standing about 20 foot at the moment. And it's right next to the house, but because it's not actually a tree, it's actually just an herbaceous perennial. And this trunk here, after it's flowered, will die. It has quite thin roots, and it's not going to be a problem for the house. This is the other banana I've got, which is against the house. Again, it's Musa Basjoo, the hardy Japanese banana, and this is it flowering. So that's the flower, and as it goes over, it sets the fruit. Now, this particular banana doesn't set any seed. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a sterile hybrid. And the bananas aren't edible just in this country because it's just literally not long enough summer for them to ripen. But yeah, it makes a great substitute for a tree. And as you can see, it's right against the house. If it gets too much, I can just dig out a bit with a sharp spade. So the first proper tree we've got in the garden is this one. It's called a Trachycarpus fortunei. Now, it's the great thing about it doesn't branch, so it's never going to get any wider than it is now. So it's about, I would say, it's probably got like a 4-meter spread. But once it gets over a certain height, we can lift these lower leaves, so it'll just get taller. And the trunk won't get any wider than what it is. It's about 1 foot wide at the trunk. So it's quite a small palm compared to other palms. Super hardy, down to about -20. And in fact, you can get a dwarf version called Trachycarpus wagnerianus, which is probably better in windy areas or for a small courtyard because that has smaller leaves and smaller leaf petioles, which is these leaf stems, if you like. But yeah, great plant. They're either male or female. They have yellowy flowers, which the bees love, and even blackbirds will eat the fruits if you're lucky enough to get fruits. This one is a female, but there's no males nearby, so I don't tend to get any seed off that, unfortunately. So that tree will never really outgrow the space. So it's perfectly placed. It's about 3 or 4 meters away from the house, maybe 3. This one, however, is called a Paulownia tormentosa. Now it's suffering a bit with the drought. We've had virtually no rain this year, and I've done another. I did recently trim it because it was actually right up in these telephone wires. I've done a video on this, on how just a year ago, was it? I pruned this down to about shoulder height, and you can see the growth it's done. It's phenomenal. I think it was about 13 foot in 1 year. It's not done so much this year, but I've trimmed it back, and I shall be taking this probably all the way down to here next year. So by coppicing a tree, it actually causes root death, which means that although this tree is quite close to the house, every time I coppice it and chop it hard, and this I'm probably going to take it down to about chest height, it's going to cause lots of root death, massive shock to it, and that's going to restrict the root growth and any potential damage to the house. I mean, even at this size, it's not causing any problems, but that'll get a thrashing. And eventually, if I keep coppicing it, the tree will actually slowly die of exhaustion. So it's not going to be a threat. I'm not going to let it get out of control. The wood is like balsa wood, so you can saw it, and it's super light, super easy to cut. So it's not really an issue. Tree number 2 is this Cordyline. Now these are from New Zealand. Some people think they're a palm. They're not. They're actually from Asparagaceae family. Again, these will have creamy white flowers that smell like lilies, and the bees love them. So even though they're not native, pretty slow growing in the UK. I've had that in the ground for several years now, and it was very big when I put it in. It's really not grown an awful lot. It's something you could plant a metre or two away from your house without any problems. And again, it doesn't seem to it develops like a big root plate, but it's, as long as you're not planting it against your house, it's not going to be an issue. And it takes a hell of a long time to get growing. Another great thing about the cordyline, which I forgot to mention, is actually you do get the sparrows eating the seeds. So again, not native, but still good for wildlife. This what will have beautiful yellow fruits on it soon. And this is probably one of the old trees in the garden. It's been in there about 7 years. It gets pruned in the winter, and then I prune it again in summer. So it's not long had another prune. And I keep it this nice sort of open cup shape to get maximum fruit and to let light in for the plants underneath. And it's a quince, a true quince, or a love apple for the common name. It has big golden fruits like that, huge, look a bit like lemons. So really attractive, lovely big white flowers that look like sort of single rose flowers. So it gets flowers and fruit, and just gives a bit of height and structure in the garden too. Again, it's a nice little small tree. A lot of fruit trees you can get on smaller root stocks, and you can prune them quite heavily to keep them to any shape you want, really. Just make sure you get it on the right rootstock. And if we just jump into the border here, we can go a bit further in, see what other trees we've got. And just here, you'll recognise this as an Acer. Now, this is one of my favourite Acers. See if we can look at it better. It's called Sango kaku. So it's got lovely red stems, a bit like an ornamental dogwood in the winter, corally red stems, and these nice lime greeny leaves with a pink touch to the edge. I think it's one of the best. Very slow growing. Again, you can prune it in either August or February time when the sap is lower, to keep it a nice shape and size. But I think this is a great tree. I mean, it's been in here about 6 years, and it's still probably only my height. And I don't want to prune it, to be honest, because I think it's fine at the moment. If we just pan around to here, you can see there's another palm over there. That's Trachycarpus takil. Basically, it looks the same, slightly bigger leaves. And this one here is another fantastic tree. It's called the Loquat. Again, it's another one you can prune into whatever shape you want, a lollipop or whatever, if it gets too big. And the great thing about a lot of these plants that I've got in the garden is you can prune them all, whereas some conifers, for example, if you prune into the old wood, they won't come back. So make sure you choose something for your garden that you can prune, and it will reshoot and not mind being pruned, basically, if you're struggling for space. So this was planted along the boundary to give me a little bit of shelter and privacy, because it's evergreen and it has these lovely big long leaves. It will get edible fruits called loquats in mild winters, but otherwise I just think it looks great and exotic. Now back here we've got another one of my favourite trees, and that is Let's see if I can just tilt the camera up. That is called Cercis forest pansy. Now, it does have flowers in the winter, tiny purple ones. But you grow it more for these lovely, beautiful leaves. And what is amazing about it is it seems to have all different shades of purple on the plant at the same time, which is really gives this great shimmering effect. Sorry, that was the bus gone past. But unfortunately, it's got a bit of an infestation of scale. Can you see? I think we just need a really cold winter to kill that off, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the plant. Luckily, I've got nothing else around here that's susceptible to scale. Again, we've got another cordyline here. This is a variegated one. This one's called Torbay Dazzler. Now, it did struggle. Pretty sure the centre's died, look. But it's reshot up from the base. If we look down here, it's reshot up from the base. So that's another thing you can do. If you've got a cordyline and it gets too big, you can always chop it down to the ground and it becomes a multi-stem plant. Now, the variegated ones are always less hardy than the green forms. And over there we've got another one. Forget what it's called. I can find out. And that struggles through the winters here in the UK. It has some years where it's untouched, other years where it's almost loses all of its leaves. But the variegated forms are nowhere near as vigorous as the green ones, so they're much slower growing, so they're good for a pot or for a small garden. And like I say, if they get too big, you can always chop them down from the ground and they'll come back from the roots. This plant here is a small tree, has huge leaves, and this is called Tetrapanax T Rex. So it is suckering. I mean, although it's not done it for me yet. Sorry, cars keep going past. It is suckering, though it's not done it for me yet. And I wish it would, so I could propagate it for sales. But it's just staying a single trunk. And it's, in fact, I'd expect that to be double the height of what it is. But it seems to be just quite happy. It's about 5 foot tall. I mean, it looks fine. But, I mean, normally you'd expect these to be about quite tall and suckering. And again, any unwanted plants you can just dig out, propagate, and they're quite popular, so you can sell them as well. So that's the rice paper plant, Tetrapanax T Rex, used to make rice paper. Another tree we've got here, I'm losing count now, but I'm going to put numbers at the bottom of the screen. This one is Cornus Alternifolia Variegata. Oh, no, it's not. I told you a lie there. I think it's Cornus controversa Variegata. And it's got this, I'll put the correct name underneath, but it has this amazing tiered effect. And if you ever see a big one, they truly are spectacular. Now, this is quite a broad tree. And if you had a small garden and patience, unlike me, you could probably just put one in the middle of the garden and let it create these beautiful tiers. And eventually it will be the feature of this area. It'll grow above all these other trees around it. But I haven't got the patience, so I'll put some smaller trees that will grow a bit quicker first around it. But again, I mean, that's been in now for 5 years and it's barely 5 foot. So it is a small tree. Eventually it'll become something substantial, but it's very slow growing. This plant here casts virtually no shade and takes up virtually no room. Despite it being tall, it's called a Pseudopanax crassifolius. Now, a lot of people say, oh, it looks dead. And I suppose you'd be right there. But it's a bit of a botanical oddity, which I think seems to be more popular with blokes than women in general. I don't mean to be sexist, but we seem to like the tropical, weird, spiky things more for some reason. I'm not sure what the psychology is behind that. But several of these in a modern landscape can look quite good. And they give you height and structure without giving any shade, so you can still have lots of sun worshipping flowers underneath, like here. Down here we've got another little tree. This is an Acer japonica Arium, and that has been in nearly like 4 years, and it's not even knee height, which is a little bit disappointing, but it just shows you how slow acers are. So don't be scared to plant a tree, especially like an acer. I mean, if it does grow, you can shape it by thinning it. Don't just prune it into a ball. But I mean, really, there's nothing to be scared of. I mean, that is really taking its time. The Acer japonicums are a lot slower than the palmatum types, and that would be a really good subject for a pot on a patio as well. So the last tree I want to show you in the garden is this one here. It's a eucalyptus. Now you probably think I'm mad to plant a eucalyptus in the garden because they can get so big, but this one is a dwarf type. It's been in about 7 years and it's only 15 foot, whereas a regular gunnii would be maybe 25, 30 foot by now. So it really does grow quite slowly for a eucalyptus. It's got this amazing, beautiful, fine foliage. It's called France de Bleu, Eucalyptus France de Bleu. It's almost like a beautiful blue mist. It's evergreen, so it gives us a lovely screen in the winter. So we'll actually get some privacy. Now, for the first time since I've planted it, and like I say, it's 7 years old, I am contemplating pruning it this year. Technically, it won't be a problem for another 5 to 10 years before it's hitting these telegraph pole wires. But I just want to keep it manageable for me. So it grows about probably 3 foot a year, I would say, which sounds like a lot, but if you coppice a regular eucalyptus, that will grow 7 to 10 foot a year. So it's really not that much in eucalyptus terms. So I'm going to probably prune it to about 6 foot, about March time. And this would make a great, and you could prune this every year about March time, and you could use the foliage in flower arranging. And if you do it every year, it's literally just a secateurs job. You won't need a saw or a ladder. But I do want to keep it nice and tall. So don't be afraid to plant trees in the garden. With the mind that you might have to chop them down or take them out eventually, or give them a good hard prune. So don't be afraid to plant a tree, even in a small space. Large trees will make your garden look bigger, even if it's a small garden. They'll give height and structure. They'll produce flowers for insects, fruits for birds, mammals. And since this garden originally just had a lawn in it with a few roses, which I pulled out, not a fan of roses, not judging anyone who does like roses, but I'm not a fan. But since I put the trees in, I've actually started getting birds, and I've never had any birds here before, apart from a couple of crows. Now we get blackbirds, robins, wrens, dunnocks, blackcaps, all coming in and checking out all the little hiding places. And that's because they've got shelter to hide from predatory birds and from cats and things like that. So get some trees in your garden. So as the great Chinese proverb says, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So why not get out there, plant some trees in your garden, do a little bit of research, see if you can prune it if it gets too big. And if it's something you can't prune, make sure it's never going to outgrow the space. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Ciao, ciao for now.